What up, guys? So today we are looking at this bad boy. This is an HP Mini 210 netbook from about 2010. I just picked this up actually yesterday from my local thrift store for $20. I saw it sitting there, and obviously there was no charger with it or anything, so there was no way to know if it actually worked or not. But I just decided to say screw it for 20 bucks. I wasn't really losing anything. And so I came home, I plugged it in with my universal laptop charger, as you can see, which I have over there, which is pretty handy for stuff like this. Anyhow, I plugged it in, and it fired right up. So, yeah, now I'm making a video on it. I went ahead and reinstalled Windows on it, of course, because it had a password on it. But, yeah, anyway, remember netbooks, guys? This was, like, all the rage back in 2009, 2010-ish, and I think even before that. I think they started coming out around, anywhere from the 2006 to 2010 range is when they started getting popular. And obviously this is before the age of the iPad, so this is what we had instead. And honestly, in a lot of ways, I kind of preferred this back in the day, just because I've never really been a tablet person, especially now that we have phones. I think the tablets are kind of redundant. They're just bigger smartphones, in other words. But anyhow, these were generally very low cost, anywhere from the $200 to $300 range, and they, obviously they had specs to match. Most of them had an Intel Atom. Some of them, I believe, had AMD low-end chips as well. They normally had 1 or 2 gigs of RAM, and anywhere from like a 160 gig to a 320 gig regular SATA hard drive. So they weren't fast, they weren't powerful, but obviously the name netbook implies that they're for web browsing, and they at least did that okay. So here you go. You're looking at a prime example here. Of course, very small, very light. This is I think about 3 pounds, so pretty light. Yeah, it's blue, as you can see. That was actually half the reason I bought it, because blue is my favorite color, and it makes this thing look pretty cool, actually. Not a whole lot of I/O, just, VGA. You have 1 USB port here, a hard drive access indicator, a headphone jack, stereo speakers, which don't sound that great, and an SD card slot. And then we also have 2 more USBs. So that actually means that this little netbook has more USB ports than the Retina MacBook Pro does, which is kind of funny. And this one actually also has an Ethernet port on it, which is kind of nice. They, threw that in, and a Kensington lock. That's pretty standard. The power sliders right there, that's a little bit different from a lot of laptops that I normally check out. Now, this thing is actually pretty simple to get into. I'm not going to go ahead and do it because it's a little bit, involved. However, you can get into this thing with no screws whatsoever. All you got to do is pop the battery out, and then this whole bottom panel just snaps off. And it's pretty easy. There's a little button there that you use to release it, and then this whole panel just snaps off, and you can get to pretty much everything under here. The hard drive, the RAM, the Wi-Fi card, etc. It's pretty nice, actually. You don't see that a lot, especially with a computer like this, or even at all these days. So kind of cool. The battery in this machine doesn't work at all, so it has to be plugged in to work. That's a small downside, but this is an 8-year-old consumer grade computer, so I didn't expect it to work anyway. So opening it up, as you can see, it's pretty basic. I mean, it's I believe this is a 10.6 inch screen or something like that, with a low resolution of 1024 by 600, so it's not even 720p. Keyboard, no nipple mouse. We didn't have those anymore, really, especially on a machine like this. A small touchpad with one of those integrated buttons. It's actually not horrible, but it's also not great. It's also one of those where you can kind of click it anywhere, which is somewhat decent, but I've noticed that you have to click it in this area if you want to left click, which is kind of ass backwards. But as you can see, a lot of these shipped with Windows 7 Starter Edition, which was basically the worst version of Windows 7 ever created, and basically for the reason that it would only let you run up to 3 applications at once, which is kind of ridiculous. But then again, this machine only has 1 gig of RAM, so maybe that's kind of a good thing. But anyway, I reinstalled Windows 7 Professional 64-bit. So I accidentally put a 64-bit version of Windows on this thing with 1 gig of RAM, and it runs about as you would expect, in that it's quite slow. But anyway, yeah, let's go ahead and turn it on. And as you can see, the resolution is so low that the Windows 7 normal boot screen doesn't even show up. It has the Windows Vista type one, and yeah, I believe that's just because it has such a low resolution. because it definitely is Windows 7. We do have a webcam. I'm sure it absolutely sucks donkey dick, but yeah, at least it's there. And so this has an Intel Atom N450, which I believe is single core with hyper-threading, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not too sure though. It's 1.6 gigahertz, I believe. It has 1 gigabyte of DDR2 RAM and a 250 gigabyte Toshiba hard drive, which, again, slow. But there you go. We're logged in. And as you might be able to tell, the battery is not working very well. But yeah, let's go ahead and open up the spec sheet, even though I literally just told you what it had, but you know, whatever. We don't make sense on this channel anyway. So there you go. Again, 64-bit version of Windows 7, which is, again, not appropriate for this machine, but whatever. I tried to look and see if I had a single 2 gig stick that I could throw in here, but I don't. I might look in one of these other laptops that I have and see if I can steal one, but there you go. Yeah, not much else to say there. Let's go ahead and load up Firefox and see if this thing can actually browse the internet, you know, like it was marketed for 8 years ago. Yeah, I already clicked on the icon. That's how long it took to load. But okay, let's go ahead and search for HP Netbook. Yeah, you can see this is not a very pleasant experience. Let's not do that. Get rid of that. Come on, you can do it. There you go. Yeah, no, actually that didn't work. There we go. So yeah, as you can see, it was slow in 2010 and it's even slower now. I imagine with like 2 gigs of RAM and an SSD that would do this thing a little bit better, but yeah, it definitely is not the fastest thing. Let's try to load this HP website next. Come on, you can do it. Alright, there you go. So anyway, as you can see, it's pretty much absolutely useless as a computer these days. It's just so slow and unusable that it's really not good for anything anymore. But yeah, it's a nice a piece of history at least, so at least there's that. We'll go ahead and turn it off because I don't have anything else to show you on it. It's a clean install Windows. But yeah, there you go. There is my $20 netbook that I picked up at the thrift store. Thank you guys for watching this video, and I will see you guys in the next one.